Hey guys, welcome to the Titanium Vault. I'm your host, RJ Bates III. And today I'm sitting down with one of my favorite guys in the real estate investing industry. Why? Because his software makes me an astronomical amount of money. So without him, man, I don't know where we'd be. But Robert, how you doing today, man?
What's up, brother? Thanks for having me on. I love hearing that. That's what gets me motivated to wake up early every day and crush it. It's hearing success stories like yours of people just be like, hey, for InvestorLift, I was here. Now I'm here. I love making people money and love having you as part of the InvestorLift family. It's great.
Absolutely, man. So before we dive into your story, I wanted to share the story of how we got on InvestorLift. The day it was a snow day here in Texas, which is very rare for us to get snow days. But when we have snow here, the world shuts down, and so there was only three of us at the office. And I think at the time we had like 60 plus properties under contract, and I was staring at about 40 of them being terminated because it was like we just can't find buyers in some of these locations. Like we're just getting our teeth kicked in. And I'll never forget, someone said, "What about InvestorLift?" And I said, "Oh, hold on. I just saw an interview with Steve Trang about InvestorLift." So I called Steve and I said, "Hey, man, what do you know about InvestorLift?" And he said, "I know you need to be on it." And he hung up and sent a group text message between me, you, and him. And later that day, I was shipping you off money after a Zoom call. You got us on cartel mode, and we haven't turned back ever since. Very rarely do we run into issues where we can't find buyers for properties. It's changed our whole trajectory of our business. So my question to you is, because I don't know some of these details, because honestly, me and you haven't had a whole lot of time together since then. It was just like, hey, you sold me on it, and I dove head in and just said, all right, man, see you later. How did InvestorLift come about, and why did it come about?
Yeah, so I think, one of the mistakes that a lot of entrepreneurs make is they search for like the next brilliant idea for a company. That's exactly what you don't want to do. If you look at all the most successful businesses in the world, it's because someone had a problem themselves and they looked for a solution. There was no solution. So they're just like, oh shit, I'm just gonna have to build this myself. So that's basically what happened in InvestorLift. I was specializing in trying to scale wholesaling companies to 7 figures a month, not per year, but per month. Because I believe that true wholesaling is a marketing and sales game, and the property doesn't freaking matter. Like, we're not actually selling properties, buying and selling properties. We're buying and selling contracts. So once you recognize that, you realize it's just a marketing sales game. So I'm like, I got lots of friends that are doing $1 million a month on e-commerce. Why can't we do this on wholesaling? So got a couple companies up to $1 million plus a month. And one of the companies I was working with, we're doing like $1 million a month in one market. And not every single month, but like 850 to $1 million, somewhere in there, some a little bit higher. And we're thinking like, okay, how do we really take this to the next level? We're not happy with 1 million. Let's go to 5 million a month. Right. And how are we going to do that? And the first thing we're thinking is like, okay, let's double marketing. We double marketing, we should have twice as many deals. So we doubled marketing, and the problem is we only got about 20% more deals. We'd already saturated the market, essentially, that specific market. And you'll see that because there's only so many people on Google searching how to sell my inherited home fast, right? There's only so many people that are distressed in each market, right? So what we realized is we'd kind of plateaued on marketing in that one market. And anyone that's really scaled up, if you're a small player, you don't have to worry about this. But as you start to scale up, you start realizing, hey, shit, I'm hitting really hard diminishing returns on my marketing budget in this market. Once you hit that, there's only one possible move you can make, and that is adding more markets. So we tacked on like 4 or 5 more markets. And the idea was, instead of doing 5 million in one market, let's do 5 million in 5 markets, right? And I'm telling you, on acquisitions, it was like shooting fish in a barrel, because coming out of the DC market, like that's the most bloody market in the entire freaking country. There's no market that's more competitive than Washington, DC area market, the DMV area. You got massive juggernauts going to war every single day, and it's a bloodbath. if you're not super experienced. So we had all our marketing and sales so dialed in, and when we went to these other markets, the guys in Alabama and Florida did not have their shit super dialed in. So we were just crushing it on acquisitions, absolutely crushing it, getting all these properties under contract. And then we're like, shit, we got to sell these. And we just hit the wall. Yep. We hit the wall so hard. Most of those deals we never sold. And even though they were priced well, we just couldn't find buyers fast enough to keep up with acquisitions. And after about 6 months, we were back in our home market, licking our wounds, asking, how the hell do we screw this up? And then just kind of retreated back to our home market. So I worked with that company for a bit, and then I started helping other companies scale up, and we're running into the same issue again, right? So working with Tarek Al-Musa's team, started working with a few other teams, scaling them up. Got a couple of them past $1 million, a couple past $2 million a month. And sure enough, again, we hit the fucking diminishing returns. We got to add more markets. When we add more markets, we don't have enough buyers. So I was thinking about, I spent years trying to find someone that had built something. I even went out to friends, I remember, I don't know if you know Chris Richter from Atlantic. I'm like, you got to build something. Yep. He did build something that got me like 10% of the way. Buyer Sonar. He built that and sold that to some of my clients. And that got us like part of the way there. But I'm like, there needs to be an application layer. Like, we need an actual tool. It can't just be a list. Everyone's just working on these lists. And also, it's way too slow if just one person's building the list. Or even if I got a team of 10 people building the list. We need a way for us to all work together on building and vetting these buyers together. That's the only solution. Because I firmly believe we're going to see the first $100 million per year wholesaler. Actually, I have a pretty good idea of, I think, who it's going to be. We're going to see that in the next couple of years. But to do that, you can't just forget about Dispo. This was where the checks are cashed. And if you're not cashing the checks, everything you did at the front end is just wasted. So initially, I just built InvestorLift for myself and my friends that I was doing consulting for. And we started blowing their companies through the roof, one after another after another. And then it was not public. Like, it was not public at all. It was just like my secret little project that, me and my friends have the secret sauce. And they were paying $10,000 a month at the time. It was just like, hey, I'll build this shit. It's going to be really expensive. All of us will each chip in $10K a month. I'll run the dev. You guys all have access. So now we're talking $120,000 a year for software.
Right.
There was only like 12 of us that had it. And it was like our secret sauce, and we're just dominating. And then the problem was these guys started having people that would come on and be like asking for coaching. So some of them launched coaching businesses, right? Because that's a great business. Like, it's just pure cash flow every month. You create your course once, put it online, just cash flows. So a few of them started creating coaching businesses, and they're like, Robert, we're running into an issue here. We can teach them everything on acquisitions. We can teach them how we set up our Podio, how to do all that. But when these guys get their properties under contract, they can't sell them. Like, our secret sauce is Dispo, and they don't have it. So, Robert, you need to open this up. And I'm like, no, wait, why would we? This is our competitive advantage. Why don't we just scale ourselves up to 100 million each? And they pushed me. And then after a while, I was finally like, okay, I will open it up, but I'm not going to do the full version. I'll do like a dumbed down version. We'll do a pre-sale, and I'm just going to do a test. I'm going to jump on one webinar, did it with Dan Schwartz. You know Dan Schwartz? He's another Texas guy.
Yep.
Yeah. So Dan Schwartz's coaching group came on. We had 150 people on the webinar. I was just like, hey, here's how we're scaling companies up, and here's our secret sauce of how we're doing it. By the way, if you want to buy it, you can pre-order it, and we're going to open it up in about 60 days. So we did a pre-sale on that webinar. 150 people joined. We sold 144,000 the first hour. 144,000 on the first webinar. Insane. Then I took that webinar, put it on a landing page. It sold 1.8 million in the first 30 days. The most viral product ever in history. And I knew these people had problems. I knew the industry had a problem with Dispo. I didn't realize that people needed a solution that much. And then that's when I was like, holy shit, we're onto something here. I actually shut off sales for most of that year because I want to make sure everyone had a good experience. And I'm like, there's just like 2 or 3 of us on the team at this point. Like, it's not even a company. It's just like, this is my software project. And shut off sales for most of that year and just onboarded that first group of people that first year. And it's just been skyrocketing ever since. It's just like every time I think like, oh, we hit this level, like there's no way we're getting to the next level. Like, it's going to take a long time. And then our 2-year goal we hit in 6 months. So it's been a
I
wild
love it,
adventure,
man.
but it was just me trying to find a solution for a problem I had.
And here's the beautiful thing about this. The exact problem that you tried to solve for yourself is the problem that I had in February of 2022. It's like
Yeah.
I saw the exact same thing you saw. I mean, we started here in Dallas, Fort Worth, pretty similar to DMV, the DC,
Yeah.
Maryland area,
Very competitive.
highly competitive, saturated, big time players here. And then, we were doing really good for ourselves. And then we said, hey, let's go out to some other markets. We went out and we realized, dude, acquisitions way easier in these other markets, but we can't sell the amount of volume that we're getting. You solved that problem. That's what makes your product so great. Now, let's talk about the product itself because, it's got so many things that it does. And for me, you essentially created the wholesaling MLS. I mean, that's what essentially it is. Was that kind of your thought process? Did you sit there and say, how do retail deals get sold? Oh, on the MLS, there's essentially a marketplace. Let's create the same thing with all of the investors on there. Is that kind of where the idea came from?
Yeah, so the front end is actually not where the secret sauce is. So we have about probably one new competitor launching per week, where they just like our front end UI is crappy. Like the actual I know it's crappy. I actually coded that in one night. We put it up there, and we actually haven't even touched the front end. The reason why we haven't touched the front end is because we know it's not important compared to what's on the back end. The back end is the real secret sauce. So just having a website to post properties, that's fine. Anyone can build that. You can get a WordPress template to go post properties. And these guys, when they launch their competitor version, they're like, oh, we got a better UI that looks a little bit prettier and whatever. They're always out. Within 6 months, they're out. They're dead. So I don't even pay attention to them anymore because I'm just like, yeah, you're going to be dead in 6 months. Because the real secret sauce is on the back end. So I like to be lazy. I know you probably like to be lazy. The most successful CEOs I know like to be lazy. We don't want to do a bunch of fucking work. So
Right.
how I was building my list before is I go on PropStream or whatever. I download, the cash buyers, and then I would skip trace and text and call and try to build the buyers one by one by one. Anyone that's done that knows how brutal that is. It takes forever. The best Dispo managers in the country will maybe build 4 buyer profiles, 4 or 5 in an hour.
Yep.
And when you're trying to scale into multiple markets, if I launch a new market, I need 10,000 buyers locked and loaded, ready to roll. Right. So that's why it's just too slow, and it costs too much money because you got to pay every hour for those Dispo managers to go build those buyer profiles. So I was thinking about it, and actually at my old place, I had a set of encyclopedias on my bookshelf. And this is kind of where I got the idea. I was on Wikipedia one day looking something up while I was on a webinar. And I looked behind me and there's a set of encyclopedias. And I knew that what I was looking up is definitely not in those encyclopedias. Back in the day, there'd be a bunch of old white dudes that would sit in a room and literally write all the articles for all the encyclopedias. And you could have all the knowledge on the bookshelf, right? And I remember being a kid, even selling encyclopedias for fundraisers and stuff. I'd be like, "You want to buy your encyclopedia set?" That was the biggest thing back then. You'd use them for your homework and stuff before internet. So encyclopedias, it was a few guys writing them. Then Wikipedia came around and they opened it up and basically crowdsourced it where everyone could contribute and everyone could write articles. And then now I believe the stat is something if you printed out all of all of Wikipedia on paper, it would fill up the Dallas football stadium 5 times over. Something crazy like that. It's just massive. And that shows you what happens if you can decentralize something and have multiple people instead of just having 1 or 2 nodes working on a problem, have thousands of nodes. So that's where the idea for God Mode came out. So that was the first thing we launched. God Mode is the same kind of thing where you can go and see every single property that's been done by an investor. But then what I did is on my data deals, I made it so that if someone skip traces that buyer, everyone else gets it. Not only that, but you can validate the phone number. So if you're calling 10 phone numbers and you hit the right one, you validate it. The next guy that comes in, it's already validated for him. We had that deal that you signed up on Closers Olympics. You and I went on. It was Lubbock, Texas, and Lubbock hadn't really been built out yet. So we went through and we built out Lubbock, Texas. We found all the best buyers in Lubbock, Texas, got them all vetted, verified their phone numbers, built up profiles for them. Now, the next time someone has a deal, or you have a deal, or anyone on the InvestorLift network has a deal in Lubbock, Texas, they can piggyback off the work that we just did there.
And it took us 4 hours to do that. We
Yep.
sold the deal. Now, if you look at this and you look at like what an actual Dispo manager without InvestorLift is doing, you're lucky to sell a deal in 4 days of doing that kind of work. And then you essentially have to go do it again because there's no CRM that's really built out for dispositions. There's no place to validate a phone number. You know, you just have the skip trace data, and maybe you delete everything else and say, okay, that's the correct number. It's just such a cumbersome process. It just simplified it so much. And now it's done for every other member on InvestorLift now in Lubbock, Texas.
Yeah. And we're going to plug the dialer in soon, which is going to take that to another level because we'll be able to do things like detecting if it's wrong number just based on like the audio recording and then automatically flagging back numbers. So we got 8,000 agents working the system every day, pounding through hundreds of thousands of numbers. Like the whole freaking American wholesaling InvestorLift army is just building and cleaning the data set every day. You can't do that as a one-man company. And it's hilarious when you see these, like I saw someone text me something. They're like, it was a screenshot from a comment on a Facebook group, and someone's like, "You don't need InvestorLift. All you got to do is download the data from PropStream and skip trace it." I'm like, bro, like, okay, first of all, like, there's so many small things that we're doing too. Like, open corporates is built in. That increases your chance of getting the right phone number by 70%. Right? So, like, I've done that. That's how I used to do it. You get the list, and then you look up the registered agent on open corporates.
Right.
Then you copy and paste that over to your skip tracer. You type that in, and then 5 minutes later, you get your freaking list. On InvestorLift, it's just like one click. You just, boop. And if someone's already done it for you, you don't even have to do it. You're just like, oh, there's the phone number. There's the registered agent. Boom. Good to go.
So one of the game-changing things that you've done recently is you rolled out Artemis mode. And I mean, dude, it's unbelievable. But for me, what was eye-opening is how you have mirrored using Artemis mode and God mode together to essentially make your deal kind of go viral inside of the InvestorLift community. So explain to them, what is Artemis mode and how can it help you dispo a deal through InvestorLift?
Yeah, so this is the coolest freaking thing that we ever launched. It literally saved hundreds of businesses in the last few months because we just went through the wholesaling winter. Like November through to March was brutal. Like absolutely brutal. We estimate that a third of wholesalers went out of business in that period. On the bottom end, the top end is still strong, but this saved so many businesses. So I had a good friend of mine, and he was really having trouble with this one deal. And he's like, bro, can I come over and can you help me sell this deal? And this was like, if you guys have ever dispo deals, you know, mobile homes, really fucking hard to dispo. Okay, this was not just one mobile home. This was 5 mobile homes. And it wasn't in some nice area. It was in the middle of freaking nowhere in Florida in the swamps.
Yep.
Okay. And the mobile homes were built in the 1970s and never been renovated. So we're talking about the turd of all turds.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, this is the biggest turd I've ever seen, but let me try to help you with this. So he comes over, we sit down together, and just like you and I did the other day, we pounded through phone numbers for 5 hours straight. And now when you and I were working through on that deal, like the deal was actually a decent deal in a decent area. I mean, It's rural, it's small, but like we got, I don't know, 20, 25 good buyer leads in that time.
Yep.
We did 5 hours on the phones, just crushing Red Bulls and coffee the whole time. We got only 5 leads. And I wouldn't call them hot leads. They're like mediocre leads.
Jeez.
Mediocre leads. And then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, how can I like cheat on this? Like, I'm the CEO of InvestorLift. I have access to all this data. Is there something I can do to make this go faster that other people can't do? Like, I got access to full data set. I was thinking about it. I was like, at the bottom of each deal, we have this thing that is deals sold nearby. Okay, so we'll actually show you the 10 deals that were sold closest to that property on InvestorLift. And the biggest problem we're running into on these calls is people are like, dude, I don't invest up there. Like, that's way up there. But I realized we actually have sold 10 deals within, a 25-mile radius. Whoever bought those deals, those would probably be the best buyer for our deal. Let's just call those people. And I have this feature that no one else has where I can impersonate a user. So I just go down to the bottom of the deal. I click 10 different tabs open. I look up the Dispo manager and I pop into my super admin account. I impersonate them, look at offers, look at who bought the fucking deal. And we called those 10 people. And in 15 minutes, we got 5 smoking hot leads and sold that deal. In 5 minutes. No, 15 minutes probably. 15 minutes it took us. So what took us 5 hours and we didn't have success, we then were able to do in 15 minutes and actually have success. And the funny thing is, the reason why I was helping him, like, this would be good content. Like, we could just record this and we could put it out there. And I was like, I told my video guy, I'm like, you got to pause the camera because I'm doing something that other users can't do. Turn off the camera, Luigi. So I was like trying to be all sneaky. And I'm like, oh, I just did that. And afterwards, I was thinking about leaving the evening, kicking back, having some beers, celebrating the success. I'm like, shit, why don't I just give this as a feature to everyone? Like, why don't I just give you a list of all the freaking people that have looked at your deal, but also have looked at or bought or interacted with other deals successfully sold on Investorbase. So that's what Artemis Mode does. Artemis Mode, when you send out your emails, your deal, you see every single person that's interacted, every single person that's clicked on your email, how long they spent on your deal moving their mouse around. You can see how many times they viewed the page. So if you see like 16 page views, they're comping out your deal, right?
Yep.
You see how many times they clicked through your images. Did they click through them once, twice, 3 times? And it gives you a stacked, ranked list of all those buyers that have looked at your deal. So you know exactly who to focus your time on. So instead of calling hundreds or thousands of people, you're like, hey, here's the 50 people that are really, really interested. Let me call them from top to bottom based on how interested they are. But then on the higher 2 plans, you can see everyone else's Artemis Mode lists. So next time someone goes to sell a deal in Lubbock, your property is going to show up, and all the leads that we generated on your property, they can go piggyback off of that. So it's like it's the ultimate code.
Here was the beautiful thing about this, and this is where my mind kind of exploded during our 4 or 5 hour session, which, by the way, is going to be on the YouTube channel. We're just editing out some of the downtime, so stay tuned for that. It should be out in the next couple of days, and should be something that we're going to be doing together more frequently as well.
Yeah, let's do it like at least once a month, but I would love to do that once a week. Just show people how easy it is to sell deals if you know what you're doing. Like Closers Olympics, $121,500 cash checks in 2 hours and 15 minutes. Where else can you do that?
It's crazy. So here's what blew my mind. You have Artemis Mode, right, which shows you everyone that's been on your deal, how many pages or how many clicks, how many images they've looked at, how long they've been on there. But then we went to the neighbor buyers and we started hitting all of them. Well, what happens is you get on the phone with one of those buyers and they don't know anything about your deal. So what do they say? They say, send me your deal. So then you send them the link to your deal, and now you're stalking them on Artemis Mode to see if they're really serious or not. So
you look at it. You don't need to call them and be like, did you actually look at it? You know they looked at it.
So as I was working this, and we were mirroring both the neighbor buyers in Artemis Mode and God Mode. So God Mode says this guy bought a deal on the same street a year ago, and you can tell he had a gross margin of $75,000. Okay, he's probably interested in buying another deal on this street. Call him. He says, oh, I love that area. Send it over to me. Send it. 30 minutes later, you refresh Artemis Mode. Now you see he viewed it. He was on it for 11 minutes. He looked at every single one of your pictures, and he clicked back on the page 4 times. Like you said, what was he doing? He was comping. Time to call him back. Hey, man, did you get a chance to take a look at that? He can't lie to you. He doesn't know that we know this information, but you're going to find out immediately if he's a real buyer or not. Because if he says, yeah, I haven't had a chance to take a look at it or not, all right, that's just his out, right? But the guys that are like, yep, I am interested in it, I need to go see it. And that's what ended up happening. I got 2 guys that said, I want to go see it right now, got on the phone with the seller, got to walk through later that day, sent out the assignment. That is the power of InvestorLift right there. Nothing can compare to it, just being honest with you. I mean, and it's so hilarious, Robert. People are craving content about dispositions. They're craving it because they've never seen it. Yeah. No one wants to talk about disposition.
And the sales process is what and I brought this because this whole like philosophy, like, oh, if it's a deal, it'll sell. Bullshit. That's how you lose half your money, right? Because that you look at this, the average assignment fee nationwide for wholesalers is around 14,000, 15,000. On InvestorLift, most months our guys nationwide are 30 plus, so we're making twice as much freaking money for a deal. Every time someone off InvestorLift does 2 deals, it's equivalent of us doing 1. So we literally have double the profits, and it's because it's supply and demand. You got to drive demand for your deal, right? If you increase the demand, you shift the equilibrium up, you sell at a higher price point. I always tell people, look, if your buyers like you, you're doing your family and your team a disservice. You're either putting your kids through college or you're putting your buyers' kids through college. Your buyers should not like you. They should want to do deals again with you, but like you should be squeezing everything you can. It's a zero-sum game. It's a zero-sum game. And the whole like, oh, I need to like leave more skin on the bone for them. Like, okay, that's only the case if you have a tiny buyers list. If I got 5 buyers, yeah, I got to do that. But if you got 5 million, it's the market drives the price. And whoever in the market, this is America. We're a free capitalistic society. Whoever is willing to pay the highest price for the deal should get the deal. And you should not short sell yourself ever and leave money on the table just because you think it's somehow gonna benefit you having repeat business.
One of the features that I love that you got, I don't know when y'all added this, and maybe it's always been there, but the tags. Now you have sub 2, seller finance, hybrid, all of these tags. So we just dispoed a deal, a sub 2 deal in New Jersey for a $55,000 assignment. And it was popping because we went in there and we said sub 2, the price is $50,000.
Yeah.
It's really a $789,000 price, but the price, the entry fee is $50,000. And immediately it just, you can see it. It's like a TikTok. When you do a TikTok that goes viral, it's comment. Here it was address request, inquiry, offer. And eventually we just shut it down because it was like, okay, pending, it's done. We moved on. And that is such a powerful thing to be able. That's in New Jersey. I mean, we've done less than 10 deals in New Jersey ever, and we sold that deal in 15 minutes. And 14 of those was on the phone with the buyer, just making sure he was legit.
I love
it. And that's the power of InvestorLift right there. Now, let's talk about one of my favorite topics, Closers Olympics. InvestorLift was the grand sponsor of Closers Olympics, so thank you for doing that. But you also demanded that there was going to be a 4th day, an extra day, Dispo day. You already talked about it, $125,000 in assignments during that 2-hour and 15-minute segment. But one of the things that I noticed there is the power of InvestorLift, but also during dispositions, these just great Dispo closers, the urgency that they put on their buyers. Can you talk about that a little bit? Was that something that you did with your companies when y'all were dispoing deals, or is that a product of InvestorLift?
Yeah, if you give your buyers time, you're not going to close the deal. There's only 2 numbers that matter in wholesaling. Number one is your return on ad spend for every dollar you plug into marketing, how many dollars you get back. And number two is your cash conversion cycle. How fast do you do that? So when we're running these high scale teams, they're expected to sell 1 to 2 deals per day. So we're not keeping them on the shelf. We're like, hey, we know these are priced correctly. You have the tools, you have access to buyers that we know will pay these prices or higher. So the thing with buyers is like, if you give them time, a lot of these buyers are used to buying stuff off the MLS and shit like that, where like they talk to the agent, let me go schedule something for 2 weeks from now. Like we don't have time for that. We got hot deals. You're going to tell us yes or no real quick. And a lot of times I've actually never shown a property. Like when I was wholesaling, I never showed a property ever. I'll tell you how I did it. How I did it is I created massive urgency. I didn't do it actually to the degree that we saw in Closers Olympics, because those guys literally had 45 minutes to sell deals. And like we saw Steve come on and sell 2 deals in 45 minutes, almost 100,000 just on his calls in 45 minutes. So he did massive urgency where he was just like, hey, look, my team wants to accept an offer in the next 15 minutes. As soon as you're a buyer and you're on the other side and you hear that, you know that, oh, I'm like, whoa, maybe this deal's even hotter than I thought it was.
Right.
If I call you up and I'm like, hey, are you interested? Like you got to sell like it's the hottest thing on the street. So what I would do is I would push my deals out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I would put a pretty attractive asking price, and then I'll put a buy it now price of the price I really wanted to get for it. And the first thing buyers always, if you ever get address requests or inquiries, the most common is like, hey, when can I come to see it? But again, that's another thing, another step in the operation I don't want to have to deal with. So up front, do we get photos, videos, Matterport, even some inspections done, and package the hell out of the deal up front so that like a serious professional buyer has all the information they need to make a buying decision. So package it up like crazy on the front end. And then when we posted it, we would drive a ton of demand on it. We get 5, 10, 15 offers on it. And then what we do is when people are like, hey, when can we come see it? What I would say is like, look, this is a super hot deal. I got 15 offers on it right now. If you want to come see it, there's a tentative open house scheduled for Saturday at 1 p.m. Now, here's how we work. We know our deals are priced right. And we know that you're going to make money on this. I know we're going to make money even at the buy it now price. This deal is so hot that we expect it to sell before that open house. And if you want to grab it, the first person that comes in with the EMD payment at the buy now price is going to get this deal. Someone is going to do that before Friday. Now, I could be wrong, but if no one takes it before Friday, the buy now price is removed. Everyone's going to walk it on Saturday at 1 p.m. And then whoever has the highest and best price for the deal is going to get it. But I'm sure you've been in some bidding wars before. You probably don't want to be in a bidding war because this thing's going to go up even higher than the buy it now. So if you're serious about the deal and you like it and you like the numbers on it, jump on the buy it now price right now. Can I put you down for the buy it now price right now? Let's get this thing done. Let's go do 10 more this year.
Yep.
Sure.
And that last line there, let's go do 10 more this year. That was a huge thing that I saw from Steve, which, by the way, Steve Francis was the winner of the Dispo Closers Olympics. He's from HBHS's team down in San Antonio. Absolutely love them. Can't wait to go to Wholesaling Live and hang out with Steve. I told him we're going to have to take a picture with our belts together.
Hell yeah.
When he said, hey, what kind of buyer are you? How many deals a year are you doing? Because I want to sell this deal to someone that's going to be a repeat customer for me. I want to sell you multiple deals this year. I felt like that built so much credibility with that buyer that buyer then was willing to ignore the fact that he had offered the buy it now price and Steve was trying to get him higher. I felt like that one moment made that buyer say, yeah, I can come up to your number.
Yeah, he sold above buy now, which typically I don't do. Like I dinged him a couple points on that. I'm like, look, if you get your buy now, you gotta stick to it. Otherwise, you're gonna piss off the buyers. But it was such a hot deal and he was on a competition. So the way he handled that was really good. He's just along the lines of, look, we got so many buy it now offers on this thing that, to be honest, my manager wants to just keep it because it's that hot of a deal. So like, I'm about to go into a meeting with him to make a decision on this property. If you want to take it, you're going to have to come up. I hate to do this, but you're going to have to come up above the buy now.
So funny story. I talked to him later that day.
Yeah.
Michael and Charles did not want him to sell that deal on the competition. They wanted him to sell the first deal or the second deal first.
Interesting.
So they actually did want to keep the deal.
Really?
He kind of went rogue and then went and sold the deal.
I love it.
He's like, I gotta win the competition. I'm selling this deal. So listen, they got a good payday. They're happy with it. So listen, InvestorLift has come in and you guys have essentially taken market share on this Dispo software, right? What does the future look like for InvestorLift? Where do you want to take this and where are we headed?
Yeah. So the big kind of vision for InvestorLift, it's a lot bigger than like, we're actually like day one right now of like where this thing's going to play out. I knew step one was I needed to build a marketplace and get people using it. Okay. And mine the data off of all the interactions. That's why before we even open it up publicly, I refused to open it up publicly until we had the infrastructure in place to mine every single interaction. That's why you go on a buyer profile, you see their buyer score. That's based on every single interaction they've ever had with any deal. Every click, every image view, every offer, all of that's being tracked on 4.5 million buyers across the country. It has been tracked since day one. So step one is build the data mining machine. Step two, this has been 2 years in the making. Step two is to take that data and to train an AI algorithm on it that will tell you who's going to buy a deal before you even sign it up.
Oh my goodness.
And by the way, RJ, I just got the results back from it. This is trained on over 7 billion data points. I just got the results for that back yesterday. So maybe after this, if you want to take that for a test drive, I just got the first results back from the first property. Right now, it's like the MVP. It takes 3 hours to run on one property, but we're into the testing phase right now. And like, if that works, if the AI works, it's game over. It's complete game over. That's it. Like, we know who's going to buy the deal before you even sign it up. Like, the lead comes in, here's the 10 buyers that will buy it. And the statistical probability they're going to buy in the price points we think they would offer on it. It's crazy. Game over. So what we're going to do, that's step two. So step two is to just AI enable all the wholesalers, where like literally an idiot could do this business. Like, you just get your InvestorLift account, you buy, you don't have to lead general. You can buy the leads. You can buy LeadZo leads. You can buy high speed to leads. You just, put your credit card in. You're going to buy the leads. The leads come in, and it's going to tell you, hey,
holy shit. Robert, hold on. Not to interrupt, but I'm going to literally, people have joked about this. I'm literally going to do 5,000 deals in 50 days in 50 states.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now I understand. Hell, this isn't $100 million wholesale company. This is $100 million wholesaler. My AI just sells my deals for me.
Yeah, we're going to build. This will allow the first companies to break 100 million. And I have a couple guys that actually have plans in place to go like take a shot at it here in the next couple of years. It's going to happen the next 24 months. But like, we're just going to make it stupid easy for you. So stupid easy. And we're going to start like recording all the calls and give you AI insights on the calls, like what works, what doesn't work. You'll see leaderboards where like you can see how your disposition manager is comparing against every other disposition manager. The system will start picking up like, okay, like their call time is too low, or like their average response time on new buyer leads, like across the network is 4 minutes. They're 4 hours. Like, you need to like fix this. So it'll start diagnosing your business. So the goal is to make it so like literally any idiot could come on and build $1 million a year business in the first 12 months. And then all that's happening through the network. All those transactions are happening through the network. And then stage 3, the holy grail for me on money is to take a cut of the deal. Now, I tried that initially. When I first had the first 12 guys, those guys would actually give me a percentage of their assignment fees on every deal. And the problem is that's impossible to scale. It's impossible to police. So I was like, screw it. Like, we're just going to do SaaS. And all the money we bring in from SaaS, we just roll back into development now. Okay, because we're getting ready for stage 3. And stage 3 is the way to make a cut off of all the deals, because we're selling billions of dollars of deals. If I can get a cut off of billions of dollars of deals, I make a shit ton of money. So stage 3 is going to be, we're going to be the biggest lender in the country. We're going to be basically a big, massive private equity bank. And so we're going to fund all these deals.
Offer the funds to the buyers.
Yeah. That's stage 3. We're going to be all of this that we're doing right now is just to give us a competitive advantage where we can build the biggest lending company ever seen before. And we're going to pump billions and billions and billions of dollars into distressed properties across the United States. And we're going to be making great interest on all those loans.
I love it, man. I love it. I have to say, I've been such a big advocate for batch leads for so long because I felt like their software really changed acquisitions, right? With their ability to stack the list and pull the list and skip trace and then adding the SMS and the dialer. It really changed the game for me on SMS or on acquisitions. I haven't felt this way about anything since, but when InvestorLift came across, you guys saw the other side, the other 50% of the JV deal here, right? And it's like you solved such a massive problem for so many other people in this industry. And case in point, I don't know but a handful of people that have a big name in this industry that don't use InvestorLift. And realistically, the reason why they don't use it is because of other reasons. It has nothing to do with InvestorLift. It has to do with whether they have a franchise or they have a vendetta against it because they built their reputation on being able to dispo deals. Whatever it is, it's not because InvestorLift doesn't work. The ones that sit here and say, no, this works, and it's only getting better. I just love how y'all roll out updates. You don't even fucking tell us. It's just like it's in there. One day we're in there and it's like Artemis mode. What's this? Holy shit. This buyer's been on my deal for 15 minutes and looked at 68 pictures. Call them, and it's like this assignment sent, So that's what I love about it, man. I want to ask you a question. You're coming to Wholesaling Live.
I'll be there.
You've openly talked about this. You're only sponsoring 2 events all year, Closers Olympics, Wholesaling Live, which, by the way, this is how aligned we are. There's the belts for both events. Soon to be a third one.
Love it.
Why are you coming to Wholesaling Live? Like, why should people be joining us there? Because I'm going to be there. Cassie will be there. InvestorLift will be there. Why is that another one of these events that you're sponsoring?
The reason why I'm sponsoring those 2 events is you learn by doing. Okay. So I remember back when I was at Harvard, we'd have these hackathons and they'd just lock us in a room for 24 hours and we'd just try to build some cool shit. And that was way more valuable. I learned more in those hackathons than I ever did in like a year of computer science classes. Like just getting out in the world and actually building some real shit to solve some real problems was some of the best learning that I ever had in my life. And my biggest criticism of most real estate events is they're pitch fests. They're just giant pitch fests. And I understand, that's how they fund these things. A lot of times they need to bring in sponsors and stuff like that. But if I'm a new wholesaler or even an experienced wholesaler, I do not want to come to a pitch fest. And also, sometimes they'll have like some inspirational speaker that will come up and like tell you his life struggles and stuff. I'm like, dude, I don't need to hear about your freaking life struggles. I got my own problems to worry about. I don't need inspiration. I'm already inspired as hell. I just want to see how to actually do shit.
Yep.
And what I love about Closers Olympics and Wholesaling Live is that's what the event is people are actually doing shit. People are closing deals. I think last year was like 17 deals. Like it's the one event where people can come in and actually leave with tens of thousands of dollars in their pocket.
Yep.
And even if you don't close a deal there, like just being there in the room with hundreds of people making calls, and watching the best in the world do calls, like that's 90% of this business. 90% of this business is just communication. We're just solving problems for people that have really big real estate problems. That is 90%. Everything else is 10%. If you don't get that 90% down, you're dead in the water. You can have InvestorLift, you can have the best data, the best systems, the best CRMs. You could have $200,000 of software, but at the end of the day, if you can't get on the phones and actually close, people don't like you, and people are not going to give you contracts. You're not going to make any money. You're going to be dead in the water. So that's why I love it about it is like I just like the realness of it. Like you're just seeing how the actual game is actually done in real life, the highs and the lows and everything in between.
This is what I love, man. I love that I've been in this industry now coming on a decade. And as things progress, we're seeing more and more alignment with the players that are actually doing this business.
Yeah.
Closers Olympics, sponsored by InvestorLift, sponsored by Lead Zolo. I do 50 days before the Closers Olympics. 50% of my deals came from Lead Zolo. 100% of my deals get dispoed through InvestorLift. I'm comping on PropStream. PropStream is the comp tool used at Closers Olympics. Now we're going down to San Antonio for Wholesaling Live. We're going to have 1,000 people in the room cold calling and getting on the phone with sellers where the rest of us are running around helping comp, helping talk to sellers. And guess who's sponsoring? Lead Zolo, InvestorLift, PropStream, same companies that we're using on a daily basis in our business. There's an alignment happening here. Yeah. There's results happening. There's people's lives are being changed. That's why I'm excited about it, because I know I spent $65,000 to learn how to wholesale, and they taught me to go get shit off the MLS and put it on Craigslist to Dispo. Okay? For like $300, you can be in the room with Robert, with me, with Uncle Charles and Mike, and like 100 other real estate investors saying, let's get a deal right now. Not go home and this is how you can do it. Not the rah-rah bullshit. Let's get on the phones and let's get a deal. September 15th, 16th, Wholesaling Live, San Antonio, Texas. Check it out. It's wholesalinglive.io. I hope to see you guys there. Robert, man, thank you for everything that you do for this community. And I mean that because you didn't have to do what you did with rolling out InvestorLift. But you did, and you're changing people's lives, mine included. So thank you for everything that you've done for the community.
I love it. And I got to thank you too for putting out real raw content. Like the reason why I sponsor these two events, because this is real raw content, like the ins and outs. And what you did with 50 deals in 50 days, I don't know if you noticed, but I was tuning in here and there. I'd be like, lunch break. What am I do during lunch break? Let me go pop up RJ Bates and see him close. So thank you for putting out raw content that shows people like how to actually do this business, how to actually.
By the way, let me give you some stats on that. 50 days right now with all the contracts that we sent out 160 plus, or I sent out 160 plus contracts in those 50 days. 122 have gotten signed. So we're right at that 70, 71% range of signed contracts that were sent. We have terminated less than 30% of those. We're at like 27% termination. Everything else is being disposed through InvestorLift. I'm going to try to keep that less than 30% terminations. These are sight unseen properties, right? So the ones that got terminated, a lot of those were JV deals. Some of them were, hey, seller just flat out lied about the condition. Very rarely do we come across a deal now that we can't dispo because we can't find a buyer. That's what InvestorLift changed for us. That's why our cancellation rate is so low. And now I have people calling me saying, hey, man, I'm thinking about going to the nationwide virtual model because I'm seeing what you're doing with Lead Zolo and with InvestorLift. And it's like, yeah, baby, we've been on this train for a minute now. It's powerful. So thank you, man. I appreciate the compliment, and looking forward to September and doing this thing. On that note, historic episode for the Titanium Vault. Pretty sure Robert's the first Harvard graduate. Didn't mention that in the intro. So that's fucking cool. By the way, I went to a Harvard hockey game this past year, and it was awesome, man.
Love it. Yeah.
And then also, pretty sure you're the first guest from recording from Puerto Rico. So if on my side, if it's a little sketchy, it's because he's got that Puerto Rican Wi-Fi. So ignore that. He's living the grand lifestyle over there. So, but Wi-Fi is a little bit sketchy out there.
Yeah, so the one sacrifice.
Yeah, it's okay. I think you'll survive. I've seen enough of your pad now with the different places you record videos.
Yeah, come out for a visit sometime. I gotta have you out there,
man. All right, guys. If you enjoyed today's episode, give us a 5-star review. Okay, we only accept 5-star reviews. If you didn't like this episode, remember my good friend Steve Trang loves 3-star reviews. Go on that. It's Real Estate Disruptors. Leave him a 3-star review and say RJ said so. Otherwise, give me a 5-star review. All right, Robert. Appreciate you, man.
Love it. Thanks so much, brother.